Everybody, welcome to the show. Around the Nation right here. Jeff Waldorf with you. Great show for you guys today. We're going to talk about the shutdown, of course. We're going to talk about the wall. We also got the Democrats. We've got Democrats going after progressives. So we've got that story. That's the story about Beto O'Rourke and his donations. We're going to talk about that. It's the story that I've been teasing all week. So we're probably going to get to that first, because that's been something that I've been wanting to talk about. Again, we've got some fun on the wall, including a very confused Mo Brooks. That's interesting. And then Ocasio-Cortez versus Joe Lieberman. That's a lot of fun, too. So, like I said, we got a great show planned for you guys on this Friday evening. So, last show of the week, of course. If you haven't already, please give us a like and share. That helps us out greatly. Let me check the fundraiser here that we're doing for the new equipment. And hopefully, I fixed the sync issue from yesterday. We had some audio and video out of sync. So, hopefully making some changes, or making some of the changes that I did fix that problem. So, let's go to that fundraiser and check on that. We have $355. So thank you, by the way, to Julia. Julia, thank you so much. I appreciate that. You want to help out, go to donate to the campaign, GoFundMe.com/TYTNationCamera. All right. So that's the fundraiser going on. To avoid running out of time before I'm done with all the stories, let's hit the first one. Let's go actually to that Beto story first, and prepare to get angry at the Democrats, of course. All right. Let's, all right. Now, the establishment seems to get angry every time you look into a politician's past, whether it be their votes or especially where they get their money. Now, this newest attack against progressives comes in the form of a Vanity Fair article titled, "The GOP's Plan to Take Down Beto Unleashed the Bernie Bros." So, oh, for Christ's sakes, here we go again with the Bernie Bros. All right. Look, again, the Democratic primary has started, and immediately, what is the establishment going to do? They're going to keep pulling out these attacks. Oh, they're sexist, and the Bernie Bros, and it's the Republicans, and it's the Russians, etc. So here we go with this. And look, already, there's actually been some very credible allegations from inside of the Sanders camp back in 2016 of there was some sexism, right? And Bernie Sanders has come out hard against that and saying, look, anybody who is involved in that will not be part of a campaign in 2020 if there is one. So he came out very, very strong against that, condemned that, and said, look, we're not interested in having that kind of behavior. We're going to institute, if we do a campaign, we're going to institute teaching program. Come on, we all know he's going to run. But again, it's not official, so I have to say if he's going to run. He's going to set up basically training and stuff so to avoid that kind of harassment. But nonetheless, notice how it's now that they're focusing on all of that stuff that did happen back in 2016. And so it's a little curious, the timing. And of course, there's articles where Me Too, of course, is going to supposedly take down the Bernie Sanders campaign. But anyway, so that Bernie Bro attack is once again going to be employed as part of that. So now, let me go to the article. Now, in this, they talked about how Republicans attacked Beto O'Rourke based on nonsense during his Senate bid. Now, look, that's absolutely correct, right? I remember talking about those laughable attempts to smear Beto for being too punk rock, too relatable, which now he is completely destroyed by Instagramming his dental visits. Yeah, that's real smart. But anyway, The author of the piece writes, quote, even in their attempts to criticize him for a DWI, a pitfall that in a different age could very well have torched his campaign, fell flat when O'Rourke pointed out that he'd been transparent about the charge in past House races. In other words, about the only thing the GOP succeeded in, per one headline, was making O'Rourke look extremely cool. Now look, again, that's perfectly fine, right? And look, yeah, is he cooler than Ted Cruz? Absolutely. Ted Cruz is the epitome of human wearing, or I'm sorry, some sort of creature wearing human skin. So to make yourself look cool in comparison to Ted Cruz, it doesn't take a lot. But nonetheless, look, I'm assuming Beto is probably a decent guy, but when it comes to being trustful or trustworthy on policy, look, I don't have any trust in Beto anymore. He broke his own no fossil fuel pledge. But anyway, here's where the article gets super absurd. They said, as he embarks on a solo tour outside of Texas to mull over whether to enter the Democratic field in 2020. However, skittish Republicans are working hard to ensure that his hypothetical road to the nomination would be decidedly bumpier. Look, I don't know what's more bumpy, right? Losing to Ted Cruz. I mean, look, you lost to Ted Cruz. How is that going to help your campaign? Beto is, look, he is a loser. He lost to Ted Cruz in a race that he definitely could have won. But that's just my opinion. But nonetheless, as The Hill reported on Tuesday, they write, GOP researchers have already begun to compile a hefty book of opposition research against O'Rourke. However, they say that it is aimed squarely at his progressive bona fides. Oh, see, we're going to attack him. We're right-wingers, but we're going to attack him from the left to undermine him in the primary. We're going to use those dastardly Bernie bros to take him down. That's the gist of the article. They said that they're reportedly focusing their research on O'Rourke's cozy relationship with the oil and gas industry, which donated nearly $500,000 to his campaign, as well as a state-level voting record. As a congressman from El Paso, O'Rourke voted for Trump administration policies about 30% of the time. Look, that sucks. I wish it was less. A lot less, right? But yes, he voted for Trump policies 30% of the times. That sucks. And against his own party on several bills, including a measure that would have prevented oil drilling in the Gulf of Mexico. Right now we have a climate crisis, so criticize him on that, absolutely. Another that gave special tax credits for COBRA insurance benefits. Also of note, O'Rourke's family money and his ties to fossil fuel interests. So look, if you want to look into his policy positions, into his record, I think that's fair game. And we looked into it, and what we found is, oh man, that's terrible. So you want to point that out? Fair game, absolutely. However, according to centrist Democrats, looking into their record is terrible, is horrible. Now, the author writes, the strategy, it seems, is to isolate O'Rourke from the far left wing of the party by highlighting his capitulation to forces it to tests. And, in fact, Bernie Sanders devotees are already primed to question O'Rourke's progressive credentials. But we're not questioning O'Rourke's credentials. We know where he stands now. And it is decidedly not on the side of progressives. Now, it's not Republicans who reported on this, by the way. It's people like David Sirota, who pointed out that O'Rourke has taken money from fossil fuel interests and broke his no oil and gas money pledge during the campaign. Now, he didn't take it from corporate PACs, but he did take it from individuals in oil and gas. Now, of course, if you're near Tandon, you think, oh, no, that's fantastic. What are you talking about? I mean, he's not taking it from PACs or anything like that, so why are you harassing him? These are just regular people working in oil and gas. No, that's not true at all. No, he actually got the maximum amount from CEOs, 30 CEOs who gave the maximum of $2,700 each to his campaign. That's not from regular workers in oil and gas. Why are the CEOs, why are high-level executives in the oil and gas industry giving money to Beto O'Rourke if he's a supposed progressive? I can't find an answer to that. There is no answer to that other than apparently Beto O'Rourke is doing something for oil and gas. And of course, Here's what's funny, right? The idea that Republicans are making progressives question O'Rourke, or question if O'Rourke is one of them, is laughable. O'Rourke is not even a progressive, and he said things like this. He said, I don't know, when asked whether he could accurately be described as progressive. I'm just, as you may have seen and heard over the course of the campaign, I'm not big on labels. He's one of the no labels guys. Lovely. He says, I don't get all fired up about party or classifying or defining people based on a label or group. I'm for everyone. If that isn't a bunch of mealy-mouthed bullshit, I don't know what it is. So he says, I'm not progressive, and has put policy like single payer on the back burner. That's problematic. It's not Republicans that made him change those positions. It is the centrists. Nonetheless, she writes, quote, if Republicans do manage to knock O'Rourke out of the primary, they will have done themselves a tremendous favor. Much of the GOP sees O'Rourke as the most salient threat to the president. No, they don't. No, the biggest threat to Donald Trump is Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders continuously polled double digits against Donald Trump and is the most popular politician in the country. So, look, I don't know where they're going from, but they seem to be ignoring polls. I know, right? Look, here's the thing. O'Rourke, the reason that he caught fire earlier in the primary campaign is because he used to believe in these policies like single payer, Medicare for all. Now that's on the back burner. At first he embraced it, then he abandoned it. And so let me tell you why progressives are angry with Beto O'Rourke. We've seen this movie before, okay, with President Barack Obama. Campaigned as a progressive, governed as a center-right candidate. Beto is white Obama. And look, it's not as if I came up with that. No, they came up with that. Democratic strategists are like, they actually celebrate the fact that he's a white Obama or that he's Kennedy-esque, right? But here's the thing. When it comes to progressives, the people who voted for Obama expecting hope and change will not be fooled a second time. We know that it was a load of crap. His votes, his record, is not the fault of Republicans. Okay? No, it's not the fault of Republicans. It's not the fault of progressives. It's his fault. So if he gets called out for that, that is fair game. If O'Rourke loses, it's not because of the Bernie bros. Which, if you're still using, by the way, is if you're still using that patently false smear in 2019, then you betray the fact that you have an agenda against progressives. Now, if you want progressives to vote for you in a primary, then don't cast terrible votes and don't lie about your policy. And most importantly, don't take money from industry. Because we will see through you if you do that. And finally, if you're one of these centrist Democrats, stop attacking journalists for doing their jobs, like Sirota, like Alex Koch, for just doing their jobs and actually pointing out facts. I know it's hard for you to do, but you might want to just not do that. Okay. So I'm going to take a break here because I have an emergency situation to get to. But we'll be back. We got more stories, so stay right here around the nation. Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. Around the Nation right here. Jeff Waldorf with you. We're back. So, a little bit of information on why I had to leave suddenly for a few minutes. My wife was pulled over and searched for her car searched. So, like, she'd sent me a text message. She's like, I just got felt up by a state trooper. And so you can imagine that I was not happy to hear that. So, of course, she was going out to get some food, heading to the store here, pulled over by a state trooper for like a brake light and a crack in the windshield. A crack in the windshield that we've had in that car for 2 years since we bought it, right? Bought it, had a small crack in the windshield, and now apparently the brake light was out. They pulled her over and searched her car for drugs. Literally took her out of the car, made her put her hands behind her back, and then searched her, patted her down, and said, I'm going to have to search your car. Through the trunk, I'm not going to find any drugs in here. I'm not going to find any weed in here. Motherfucker, weed's legal in this state. What are you talking about? We're not going to find any drugs here in your pockets. What are these? Well, your story's inconsistent from coming from that subway. Come on. Bullshit. Absolute 100% fucking bullshit. Pulled over for no... Oh, you're driving erratically. Are you sure you're not on drugs? Motherfucker, she's on anxiety medication because of shit like this. That's why she's on anxiety medication. I mean, this is the most bullshit, like traffic stop I've ever fucking seen. So that is some absolute bullshit. And so, look, man, that's why she is like a mess right now. So she's like, in all of my years that I've been alive, she's 34 years old. She's like, I've never been pulled over, and I've never been frisked, and I've never been searched. That's some bullshit. So, I don't know, man. So I got a brake light to fix today. But anyway, so yeah, you know what? I'll look into it. I'll look into seeing whether they overstepped their bounds or not. Because again, that is absolutely bullshit. All right. So let's get into some of these stories, huh? All right. No, my wife's white. So it's happening to white women too. I don't know. Our car's the car that she drives to work is a little crappy. So it's dirty. It's a 2004 Stratus. And it's not in a horrible condition, but it's in bad condition. And she was going 5 miles over. She was going in a 40 and a 35. So they pulled her over for that. But they said, you're driving erratically. And so we're going to have to search your car for drugs. Drugs? You got to be kidding me. That's amazing. But anyway. We're gonna enough about that. Let's get to the news, okay? It's been a frustrating day. All right. All right. Nope, that's not it. We're not gonna go with that one. We got this one. All right. So recently, President Trump has been floating the idea of using using a national emergency in order to get funding for his wall. So now other Republicans are on board, Republicans like Representative Mo Brooks. Now, during a discussion about Trump potentially bypassing Congress in order to use that national emergency funding, therefore bypassing Chuck and Nancy, in order to do that, CNN's John Berman asked him, now, wait a minute, if you guys allow Trump to do that, then what's to stop a progressive president from doing the same thing on climate change. This is his response.
Let me go back to this matter of national security right now and the president's determination of what is an emergency or not. Say 5 years from now, there's a hurricane, a vast hurricane, and there's a Democratic president who believes that climate change was involved with the hurricane. Thousands of people die from it. Could that president, he or she, then say he needs a national emergency declaration to get money to fight that?
I'm sorry, that was kind of convoluted the way I heard it. Would you please restate it?
The fact of the matter is that the whole argument is convoluted for a National Emergency Act for wall funding also. What I'm saying is if a president can make the claim that national security money, emergency money is needed for a wall, could a president at one point say it's needed to fight climate change?
I would have to look at the specific statutes to see what you can and cannot do.
Okay, look, I love that. That's actually pretty funny. Because he saw them for a second, he's like, what? Use climate change. What? Dude, I think you broke him. In this hypothetical from John Berman, he's like, oh shit, I didn't even think about that. Oh no. What if a progressive president might actually make climate change a national emergency? Oh my God. Yeah, well, it is kind of an emergency, actually. But before I get to serious stuff, because we got another video on this, because it's fun once he collects himself. But before I get to that, I couldn't help but watching that and thinking, God, that looks familiar. What does that remind me of? And then I found this. Now, wait. Okay, that's Surprised Pikachu, right? No. If you do a comparison between the two, that is his exact face, like surprised Mo Brooks. So, again, I just had to point that out because that's hilarious. What? Climate change? Wait, you can't. National emergency? Uh-oh. Now, of course, he continues on that vein of saying, wait a minute. He can't do that, can he?
That is so far out there.
Why? If it's a matter of national security, if it is a matter of national security and the president deems it so, why is it outside the purview of the law?
I don't see how that example that you gave affects the national security of the United States of America.
The Pentagon and the intelligence services often talk about the effect of climate change. I'm making a hypothetical argument here.
In this instance, we're talking about protecting the southern border. Any nation to exist has borders. And the primary function of a nation with respect to those borders is to secure them. So that is a matter of national security by definition.
Okay. Well, I mean, a nation has borders, and we have to protect the borders, right? From immigration. That's why it's a national emergency. Yeah, but climate change is also a national emergency. Now, think about it this way, right? So if you think immigration is bad now, which it's not. Actually, immigration is at border crossings on the Mexican border, right? The Mexico-U.S. border is actually at record lows. And you have more people leaving than coming in. And then, of course, but the caravan is basically made up. So, come on, man. But anyway, no, if you think it's bad now, and it's not, but wait until climate change renders entire swaths of the earth, especially in the Middle East, uninhabitable. That is going to happen. Now, what's going to happen to the people there? They're not just going to stay there and die now, are they? No, they all got to go somewhere, right? And guess what? Some of them inevitably are going to come here. Now, if we have a freak out over 5,000 people in a so-called caravan coming to the southern border, just wait until there are millions of people from these displaced countries that are no longer habitable coming to our borders. Hey, they got to go somewhere, right? Now, that would be a national emergency. But yeah, I guess we can't do anything to prevent that by actually doing something about climate change. Oh, no, no. So let's just build a border wall that won't actually work. Again, how effective will, look, how effective will a wall be against millions of people, right? Or even an even better question, right? Look, one effect of climate change will be massive sea level rise. Okay? I wonder how effective a wall would be underwater. I can't imagine it would be very effective. Okay? But Mo Brooks would be dead by then, right? So he's not going to care. He'll have his millions of dollars from oil and gas companies who live, and he'll be living comfortably in his gated community. And he'll be doing so while everything outside of that community burns. And then eventually the community itself will also burn. So, and let me make a quick correction. The caravan wasn't made up, but it was definitely a made up problem. It disappeared and kind of dissipated after the election. They made such a big deal about it on Fox News. The president talked about it constantly. Most of it didn't actually end up at the U.S. border. Most of it actually dispersed in Mexico. So it wasn't a problem after the midterms. So there's that. But anyway, maybe we should actually do something about climate change and not talk about problems that aren't actually big problems. Because climate change is the biggest problem of them all. Okay. Moving on. Nope. All right, here we go. All right. Now, during the campaign, President Trump called himself an amazing deal maker. In fact, I got some quotes. He says, look, I make the best deals, right? He says, deals are my art form. Other people paint beautifully or write poetry. I like making deals, preferably big deals. That's how I get my kicks. I don't make deals for the money. I've got enough. Much more than I'll ever need. I do it to do it. Those are real quotes. Okay. So, he loves deals. Of course. But apparently, according to a former Trump executive, he actually wasn't very good at making those deals. Interesting. Now, former longtime Trump Organization executive Barbara Ress and the The Art of the Deal co-author Tony Schwartz recently talked to MSNBC's Ari Melber. And what they told him is that Trump's deal-making abilities are actually not very good at all. He said, quote, Ress said, quote, I never thought he was a great deal maker, to be honest with you. Now, this isn't just some random Trump critic. This is someone who was the organization's vice president in charge of construction. So this is somebody who worked with and for Donald Trump in the Trump organization. Not only that, but when it comes to basically taking responsibility for some of these bad deals, she said, quote, in terms of taking responsibility for the buck, he would just never do it. It's not in his DNA. He's never responsible. It's always someone else's fault. Shocker, right? I mean, on Thursday, he was asked by a reporter if the buck stops with you over the shutdown. Here's what he said. Quote, the buck stops with everybody. But that's not what she asked. She said, does the buck stop with you? Is it your responsibility? This shutdown, and she said, and he said no. No, it's not my fault. It's everybody's fault, except for mine. No, this shutdown is your fault. Again, you said you were happy to take all the blame for it, to own it. You said that right to Chuck Schumer's face. I will take 100% of this shutdown, and that's it. Like, this is my shutdown. I will be proud to take the blame for it. Okay, great. But now as for deals, Now we go to Tony Schwartz. Now Schwartz said, quote, most of the deals in that book, the book that he wrote, were failures. And the number of deals he's made over the years since then have overwhelmingly been failures. He added that Trump was, quote, really one of the worst deal makers he's ever come across. Because look, here's the thing. Had he been a halfway decent deal maker, we would not be in a government shutdown right now. Now, I don't know if you know this, but Chuck Schumer literally has a spine made of Jell-O. Like, he's got no spine, right? So if you offered him some sort of deal, even a crappy deal, that maybe, oh, we can do a promise to do a DACA vote later, just like what Mitch McConnell had offered him. And not only that, but, oh, you can go ahead and confirm all these Trump justices, and then we'll let you go home earlier. How about it, Chuck? And he's like, oh, yeah. Oh, well, yeah, I'll take that deal. Yeah, I'll definitely take that deal. So, come on, man. Look, if you were to give him a crappy deal like a DACA vote and $2 billion for the wall, Chuck Schumer would probably do it. He would probably take that deal. And look, the reason is corporate Democrats desperately want a deal because the longer the shutdown happens, the more of a chance it has to hurt the markets. And that corporate donors do not want you to hurt the markets. Now, and if Trump was some sort of deal maker, he could get, yes, reduced funding for that wall, and then trumpet to his base, hey, guys, I got funding for the wall. Chuck and Nancy, they're correct. I got everything that I wanted. And, you know, look, he could tell that to his base, and then they would 100% believe it. Instead, Trump is a serial bungler. He bungled again. In their most recent meeting, he basically walked out. He took his ball and he went home. Okay? And so, and he did so because, look, he didn't get what he wanted. And so, but what do the American people want? Well, most people don't want a wall. Only about 40% of Americans, 4 in 10, actually want Trump's wall, according to recent polling. And even if you do want a wall, it's very likely that you don't want to shut the government down in order to do so. In fact, what you wanted to do is originally have Mexico pay for it. At least that's what they said during all of those campaign rallies. Just saying. Now, as far as the shutdown is concerned, over this wall, because that's what it's about, nearly half of all voters in a Politico Morning Consult poll say, that's 47%, say Trump is mostly to blame for the shutdown, while about a third blame Democrats. Now, again, they could make a deal for funding for border security, right? Or basically fencing. That was the position of Hillary Clinton, right? Or more money for immigration judges or more money for border patrol. For me, I would actually prefer if they send a few $1 billion, they spend $5 billion on more immigration judges so that we could actually hurry up with these asylum claims and actually have a system that, I don't know, gets people through quicker so that people can come into the United States quicker or get vetted quicker. That would actually solve the actual humanitarian crisis going on at the border, in basically what's making people wait for years and years and years in order to get their cases even heard. Because again, there are people there that are waiting for asylum to hear to have their claims of asylum heard. So, but of course they're not going to do that. And Trump is such a bad deal maker that he's incapable of actually making a good deal at all. And the other reason, of course, is he doesn't want Ann Coulter to call him a weenie. So this is what we're dealing with as a president. He's a man-child who is hurting regular people in order to get his vanity project, which is all set there to feed his ridiculous, childish ego. Shocker? Not really. Okay. I have more on the wall here, but I need to take one more quick break. We'll come back. We'll read the super chat, and then we'll get to the Trump. How long Trump actually thought it would take for him to get funding for his wall, and Ocasio-Cortez. So you're not going to want to miss those stories. Stay right here around the nation. Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. Around the Nation right here, Jeff Waldorf with you. Got a super chat here from Shane McAndrew. Says, I doubled the amount due to what happened to your wife. Thank you, I appreciate that. I hope she recovers and hope you too sue that crooked ass cop. We are trying to figure out exactly what we're gonna do. Well, right now, like I got a tail light to fix apparently. So I'm gonna work on that, and then we'll have to go from there. I don't know. We're looking at maybe fixing the windshield on that car, and that's going to be like a stupid expense for no reason because it wasn't hurting anything, and it's been like that for 2 fucking years. But I really don't like the idea of my wife getting harassed by state police people. So, I mean, that just, it gets under my fucking skin. So I'm pissed off. I'm not in a good mood, guys. So, but thank you. All right. Anyway, let's go in here and let's do the segment on the wall again. Okay. All right. So the government shutdown, started by Donald Trump, is now nearly into its 3rd week, right? And in that time, of course, President Trump has refused to back down from the position that you need to give me $5 billion for my wall, and, or else I'm going to continue to keep the government shut, okay? But now, here's the question that not a lot of people are asking. Why are we shutting down the government that refuses to pay for a wall, right? When it was supposed to be Mexico that was, supposed to pay for the wall. I mean, again, that is something that he said at a lot of his rallies, right? What he kept telling his fans. Oh no, we're gonna build a wall, and who's gonna pay for it? Mexico. Mexico's gonna pay for the wall. Of course they're gonna pay for the wall, right? Oh, but Jeff, you understand? He actually never meant that. He never meant that. Yeah, but no, that's not true because that's an actual literal policy proposal. Now, that proposal was titled Compelling Mexico to Pay for the Wall. And it was rolled out in a 2-page memo in April of 2016. Now, the plan, which has been deleted from the Trump campaign website but retrieved through web archives. So, again, they realized, oh, yeah, Mexico's not going to pay for the wall. Now, what it was, this memo was basically a somewhat detailed strategy to try to force Mexico to pay for the wall. Now, that scheme, by the way, do you know how long this was supposed to take? Not the first 100 days, although it would be technically in the first 100 days. No, this scheme to make Mexico pay for the wall would have taken approximately 3 days. 3 days. Oh, yeah, no. As soon as I become president, on my 3rd day, we'll have Mexico pay for the wall. How ridiculous. They actually believed it would take 3 days. Now, here are the details according to the Daily Beast. Now, first, Trump would issue, this would be day 1, a threat to change a rule under the USA Patriot Act to halt money transfers from undocumented Mexican nationals inside the United States back to Mexico. Now, that money is known as remittances, right? And it amounts to roughly $25 billion annually and makes up nearly 3% of Mexico's GDP, according to the World Bank. Oh, yeah, so we're going to stop these remittances, right? We're going to stop $25 billion from going to Mexico, and then Mexico is going to be so mad that they're going to pay for the wall. That does not make sense. That doesn't make sense at all. But nonetheless, Trump wrote in the memo, quote, "It's an easy decision for Mexico. Make a one-time payment of $5 to $10 billion to ensure that $24 billion continues to flow into their country year after year." But wait a minute. Again, that doesn't make sense. Okay, so right now remittances are about $25 billion a year. If you build a wall that is theoretically supposed to keep undocumented immigrants out, then how are they going to get into the United States to work and then send the remittances back to Mexico. That doesn't make any sense. That makes no sense. But again, apparently, it makes all the sense in the world to Donald Trump, to Donald Dotard. I mean, the other thing is, how are you going to track down that money? Like, how are you going to find that money? If you can't find the undocumented immigrants to take it from, how are you going to find the money? Oh, this is so dumb. But there's more. There's more. Now, if everything goes to plan, right, Trump would then issue a threat. Or I should say, after issuing that threat, Trump would then respond to a presumably panicking Mexican government with a promise not to enact the rule change, saying, if the Mexican government will contribute the funds needed to the United States to pay for the wall. So I'm going to threaten them with the rule, and then they're going to be like, oh my God, Mr. Trump, oh my God. Here, we'll just give it, we'll pay for the wall, we'll pay for the wall. Just don't stop those remittances from coming into our country. Okay. Now, on the memo, Trump concluded, quote, we had the moral high ground here and all the leverage. It is time we use it to make America great again. Oh, it's going to be so easy to get Mexico to pay for the wall, guys. All we have to do is just threaten them. Except that, no, it wasn't easy. But of course, look, nobody but Trump's fans really took it seriously. And I think, to be honest, look, I think Trump took it seriously until he realized how difficult it was. And then he was like, oh, never mind. This is actually going to be hard and not going to work. So I'll back off from this. I mean, nobody knew building a wall and making Mexico pay for it would be so hard. I guess it's actually easier to try to get taxpayers to pay for it, American taxpayers. And look, they did actually try, right? Now, according to former Trump campaign advisor, Sam Nunberg, talking to the Daily Beast, he said, quote, you know, there are a lot of options in the air. However, the idea that Mexico would literally pay billions for the wall, like writing a check, was for political fodder rather than a legitimate policy proposal. Somebody tell the MAGA guys in the audience, hey, he didn't actually say that he was that Mexico was literally going to pay for a wall, like a check. Oh, no. But now, of course, Trump's saying something completely different, right? But Nunberg says it's going to be paid from then in terms of they were going to get less money from the United States. Noting that, Nunberg said, noting that the campaign toyed with multiple funding sources for the wall, only some of which involved Mexico directly funding a wall. So they were thinking about it. They were thinking about it. And they're like, there's no way that we can get this to happen. So what they settled on, kind of, before they went and abandoned the idea of having Mexico pay it all for the wall, was, okay, look, Mexico's going to pay for the wall, but not by giving America money, but having America give them less money, and somehow that translates to Mexico paying for the wall. That doesn't, what? No, that doesn't make any sense. So that's really, really dumb. Now, Trump, of course, after realizing how difficult this was, denied that there were any specific plans for Mexico to directly pay for the wall. But what I just showed you, there was a policy memo in 2016, in April, with these different ways where Mexico was supposed to pay for the wall. Oh, but no. Didn't actually exist. I never said that. He said, obviously, I never said and never meant they're going to write out a check. Mexico will pay for the wall indirectly. No, they're not. No, they're not. It's going to be American taxpayer. But it gets better. As the Daily Beast notes, for a figurative policy which eventually entailed extorting billions of dollars from the Mexican government, it became pretty well concrete. The plan invokes the USA Patriot Act to issue detailed regulations under 31 CFR 130.120-121, using customer identification regulations to block payments for unauthorized residents of the United States to residents of Mexico. Now, there's a bit of a problem there. And again, that's from the memo. That is very detailed, which shows you they were definitely trying to do something like this, right? Now, there's a problem to that. There is no regulation at 31 CFR 130.120-121. Those customer identification regulations are actually found in a completely different section of the code. But all that aside, much of Trump's proposal is actually already enacted at the time that he proposed it. Oh, I know, stealing somebody else's ideas and credit for it? No, you'd never do that. No, in his plan, Trump declared that he would threaten to issue a regulation redefining applicable financial institutions to include money transfer companies like Western Union. However, Western Union and all similar financial wire couriers are already categorized as financial institutions under federal law. And they have their own separate customer identification requirements. Other proposed revenue streams for the president's border wall in the document include fees on visa applications, surcharges on remittance payments, good luck getting those, and canceling visas entirely. And those have all, interestingly, similarly disappeared from the Trump agenda. Although, the Daily Beast notes that it's unclear why. I wonder why they didn't show up. Come on. Now, there were other, of course, attempts to do tax remittances. The Border Wall Funding Act of 2017, which was created by Alabama Republican and longtime supporter of the president, Mike Rogers, would add a 2% tax to all remittances sent to Central and South America to be expended for improving border security. Not necessarily a wall, but still the same thing. Now, the bill was stalled out in Congress since March of 2017, when Republicans controlled both chambers of commerce. It appears that even Republicans thought, no, this is a bad idea. And of course, now you don't hear the president talking about it. Now it's Chuck and Nancy needs to give me money from a wall, because who's paying for it? We are! That sounds a little flashier than, doesn't sound quite as flashy as Mexico paying for it, but you know, that's the truth of the matter. Now, the White House, of course, did not respond to multiple questions or comments as to why Trump dropped the remittance idea, whether the proposal was merely a rhetorical device, or how the president could square his statement that he never said and never meant that Mexico would directly pay for the wall with his own detailed plan for Mexico to pay for the wall. But he won't answer the question because he doesn't have a good answer. Now, and look, there's a reason for that, right? We know this, right? Now, I want to get to a quote here from Alex Narasta, a senior immigration policy analyst at the Cato Institute Center for Global Liberty and Prosperity. Now, he told the Daily Beast that the notion Mexico would ever pay for the wall was extremely unlikely, even by Trump's newest definition, and Trump almost certainly knew it. He said, I suspect Trump dropped the idea for 3 reasons. First, it wouldn't raise enough revenue. I doubt that was a consideration. Second, remittances don't go to the Mexican government, so the threat wouldn't carry much weight. Very true. Third, it would be very difficult to only tax illegal immigrants through such a tax. Also incredibly true. So obviously, there are some big problems with those plans to try to get Mexico to pay for the wall. But I am not convinced that Trump is smart enough to know any of that. I think that he really just thought that he could bully Mexico to pay for the wall in 3 days. And when that didn't happen, well, then he got upset and he decided to switch gears to making American taxpayers pay for the wall, leading us to, of course, to our current situation, where our government is now in a partial shutdown. Millions of people are going, well, I wouldn't say millions, about 800,000 federal workers are going without pay, and many of them are still going to work, where millions of people are facing the possibility of losing their food stamps once money runs out. And of course, you have a lot of people on Section 8 housing assistance that might also end up losing their homes. And then, of course, you know, people will end up having their credit ruined if they can't pay their bills, these federal workers. So it's going to be a huge disaster thanks to our very stable genius president. Congratulations, Donald. Dumbass. Okay, one more quick story here before we leave. That went on a little bit longer than I thought. All right. Now, Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez on Thursday fired back at former Senator Joe Lieberman, who said that he hopes that AOC is not the future of the Democratic Party. Now, he talked to host Neil Cavuto on Fox Business News, where they almost never talk about business, by the way. He slammed AOC by saying, "With all respect, I certainly hope she's not the future." And I don't believe she is. She's gotten a lot of attention because she's different. She's controversial. But if you look at the majority of new Democrats in the House, they tend to be, I say, center-left, if they are not left-left. Well, look, Overton window is still massively to the right. And let's be completely fair about that. But a lot of the new Democrats in the House aren't centrists. Okay, center-left, yeah, it's maybe fair. But look, let's be honest, a lot of AOC's positions are actually center-left. They're not like super radical. Medicare for All is deeply popular, and it's basically the standard in every other industrialized country. Also, higher wages. That's not a super left position. That is a mainstream moderate position with tons and tons of actual support from regular people. So these programs are deeply popular. Unlike, of course, Joe Lieberman, who is not very popular. But look, I want to give you some of the Democrats that are along the vein of AOC. For example, you have Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, AOC, of course, Rahul Grijalva, Ro Khanna, who were both incumbents, Ayanna Pressley, and Pramila Jayapal, among many others. So, look, we've got a lot of progressives in office. So, and that's just a start. And besides, the reason that she's making waves is not because she's controversial. Again, as I mentioned, on policy, she resonates with the majority of the American people. And the establishment, unfortunately, cannot stand that. And it's also, interestingly, why Republicans are so obsessed with her. They do not have a counter to her policies, which again are very popular. And of course, she fights for those policies. She fights for those policies. Now, of course, upon hearing this, AOC hit back against Lieberman in a tweet, and I love it. She said, "New party, who dis?" That's pretty funny. The point being, of course, is why should anybody care what Joe Lieberman has to say? Now, he's not even a Democrat. Oh, I can actually do that too. That's funny because that's something that the Hillary stands love to say all the time about Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders is not a Democrat. Oh yeah, well, why are you going to listen to Joe Lieberman then? Joe Lieberman's he's not a Democrat either. Again, to me, that's not an actual convincing argument, but they love using it. So, but look, he backed John McCain back in 2008 over Barack Obama. Now, if you're a Hillary stand, if you're establishment Republican, you're part of Donut Twitter, you should look at that as the ultimate betrayal. Oh, how dare you not back the beloved Barack Obama? How dare you back John McCain? But wait, a lot of the Hillary voters actually also backed John McCain. More so than Bernie backers backed Trump in 2016. Oh, they tend to ignore that. They do. Not only that, but he helps stop good policy like the public option, which would have been a step towards single payer during the ACA fight. He refused to back the public option, and so this is why we don't have at least something that would be right now a Band-Aid, but also a step towards single payer. That's why we don't have that right now. You can thank Joe Lieberman for that. Weird. It's almost as if this guy shouldn't have any say in the Democratic Party. But again, with all those listed, it's not my requirements. This is the requirements from, centrist Democrats. Like, he's not even a Democrat, guys. So he shouldn't have any say in Democratic policy. Whereas AOC is an actual Democrat. I'm just saying. But of course, if you're that much of a Hillary stan, you probably will ignore that and will continue to go on hating Bernie Sanders and people like him for primary Democrats and not being part of the party. But wait, what did Lieberman do? Oh, right. When he lost, he quit the Democratic Party and then primaried the guy, Ned Lamont, who beat him. And he actually won. So all the stuff that he did that you hate that Bernie Sanders had done, you love in Joe Lieberman. Maybe it's because he's not a progressive. Maybe it's the policy that scares you and not the people. Maybe it's the fact that he is for that Bernie Sanders and AOC and all these progressives are for Medicare for all, single payer, that they're for a $15 living wage, and that they're for free college, and they're for breaking up banks, and that scares you. You're not progressive at all. You don't care about good policy, and I think it shows. Okay. That's it. That's all I got for you guys today. Before I go, I'm going to super chat here from Rexel. Thank you so much. It's incredibly generous. He says, the police story from earlier was disturbing. Tell your wife much love from your internet fans. Thank you so much. She will appreciate that greatly. So she definitely will. I'm going to, after the show, give her lots of hugs. So, and, you know, I'm going to do so for you guys too. So thank you so much. I deeply, deeply appreciate that. Thank you so much for your generosity. I appreciate that. So, all right, guys, thank you so much. TYT is next. So tune into that. If that's your thing, I guess. Make sure to like and share the stream, and the videos, of course, later on. And thank you so much, for all that. We'll see you guys on Monday. You have a great weekend. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Love you guys. And remember, change begins with you. Good night, nation. We'll see you on Monday.